Happy New Year, BC Conference family and friends. We thank the Lord for His wonderful blessings bestowed upon us last year, with the assurance that He has many more for us during this year of 2022. It's also my privilege to introduce to you our first video for this year. Pastor Doug Pond will share a story of faith, determination, courage, and mission. I'm sure we are all going to be blessed by this video.
Nelson, known as the Queen City of the Kootenays, is nestled in the rugged Selkirk Mountains of southern British Columbia, halfway between Vancouver and Calgary. Nelson is a stronghold against the gospel. The high cost of living, along with the difficulty of finding housing and employment, is a barrier, and is populated by giants just as real as those in the mountains of Hebron: spiritualism, paganism, and humanism.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Nelson has struggled really to make an impact on this town. In the 1920s, when my dad was a boy, they actually bought this house and the one across the street that they used as a place of worship. But they were sold when the members moved away. So by the time I came along, there was no Adventist church here in town. We were the only Adventist family. I'm standing in front of the house that was our home in my childhood. In the early 50s, we started a district church in Salmo, 25 miles away. And so by the late 1970s, several families had moved into the area, and they were able to build this church with the help of Maranatha and the donation of lumber from Jacobson Sawmill in Williams Lake.
By 2004, there wasn't enough members attending to keep the church open, but Terry Sutherland faithfully looked after the building and grounds.
I mowed the lawn while the church was shut down and took care of the church the best I could. I fixed some water lines there. Has sprung a water leak in the basement.
When Pastor Pond and his wife Marilyn arrived to serve as a district pastor in November of 2008, Terry's parents, Percy and Margaret, and Evelyn Cherry, 3 octogenarians, were the only active members. They met each Sabbath in the Sutherland home, but the church sat empty.
That winter, we got the church functional again. And on March 7, we reopened with a district rally. We had people coming from the other 3 churches, actually, Trail, Nakusp, and Grand Forks. And we had such a wonderful time singing that we decided to forego the sermon.
Attendance grew during the next 4 years to about 35, but in 2013, Pastor Pond retired and moved to Creston. 6 years later, the church attendance had dwindled back down to 3. With insufficient funds to maintain the facility, the conference considered selling it. Instead, they invited the Ponds to come back to Nelson to try to revitalize the church.
We pulled into the churchyard on September the 1st, 2019, dragging our 5th-wheel camper behind us. Our first job was to get ready for winter. Since accommodation in Nelson is so expensive and so hard to find, the conference had asked us if we couldn't just renovate maybe the church. And so that's what we set about doing. And it worked out really well. By December, we were able to move in because we got help from, Grand Forks and Trail and Creston and Castlegar. Many people came to help us, and it was great. Now we have a comfortable, if tiny, 3-bedroom, or 3-room apartment.
Now, despite COVID-19 restrictions, last month, for example, there was an average in-person attendance of 17. Of these, 7 are new members, 3 have been added by transfer, 1 by baptism, and 3 by profession of faith.
We now have an active membership of 9, and by God's grace, we are seeking to impact our community in several ways. Thanks to Yvonne's vision, our classic van is becoming a familiar sight on Main Street and even in the back alleys. as a source of warm clothes and blankets and hot homemade soup every Sabbath afternoon. Running Wolf's Need a Hand ministry provides various kinds of help to people in need. Everything from teaching people how to survive on the streets to fixing their computers or their automobiles. He does a lot of things for a lot of people on a regular basis during the week. John is our bookman. He has personally given away hundreds of Spirit of Prophecy books to people on the streets of Nelson. Josh's media ministry is bringing our Sabbath services to an online audience of over 360 on Facebook and nearly 50 on YouTube. My wife has a landscaping ministry that has really improved the grounds of our church. We have this fairly large acreage, and she has made paths, and Selena has made signs for these paths, a creation path and a Bible promises path. We've got a picnic table by the waterfall and park benches underneath the maple trees, and it's really looking quite nice. All we can say is, Maranatha, even so come, Lord Jesus.
Wow, what a miracle! I still remember the day that I went to the Trail Church and met with Pastor Pond and shared with him the condition of the Nelson Church at that point in time. We had some options. Of course, the best one was to revitalize the church. After much prayer, him and Sister Marilyn took up that challenge, and the Lord blessed them tremendously. We are in the business of opening churches, not closing them. The Nelson Church has been completely revitalized, physically, the structure, and spiritually, the most important part. I pray that all of us during this new year, and always, we allow ourselves to be used by the Lord as we use the time, the talents, and the treasures that He has entrusted us with to grow His kingdom. May God bless us richly as we do that in His name.